Okay, I'm gonna see if I could try to capture this for you guys and hopefully not too much glare. The topic came up a little while ago about electromagnetic induction and voltage spikes when you switch a coil on and off. Um, and I just happen to have a automotive relay right here. This is a single pole, single throw relay, and there's a resistor in parallel with the control coil, which is in between terminals 85 and 86 there. This is on a trainer board, so we've got our positive power source that goes through a fuse block, through a push button switch, and then to the control terminals 85 and 86 on the relay to ground. Not powering anything with the relay because this happens whether the relay is actually connecting a circuit or not. And then I've got an older Snap-on Vantage Pro lab scope connected to it, and I've got it set to the 200 volt scale. I got my zero raised off the bottom a little bit, and my time sweep across the screen is 1 millisecond. So that would be 200 microseconds, 400 microseconds, 600, and so on. So the time across the screen is 1 millisecond. You can see that my current voltage right now is 13.3 volts. System voltage, that would be like a low charging voltage for a car. And it's negative because I have my leads reversed. That's because the spike that we get is negative, and so I wanted it to go up on my screen, so I reversed the leads. You can see over here we got 0 volts, we got 80 volts, and then 160 volts. Okay? And I've got my trigger. I'll show you my trigger. That is set for 15.5 volts at the 200 microsecond points. So that means that the voltage needs to exceed 15.5 volts in order for it to record and graph it on the screen. Okay, and up here are my min and max values. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cycle this on, cycle the key on, or the switch, and let go right away. And you can see here we've got negative 25 because there's a spike when it turns on and then another spike when it shuts off. Okay, and if I do it really quickly, and it doesn't record all of them because it's happening really fast. This little symbol right here indicates that it's in peak detect mode, and peak detect mode isn't available with less than 1 millisecond time. So in order to keep peak detect mode, I had to go 1 millisecond, which kind of reduces our resolution here. But you can see that if I can cycle it really fast, get up into the high 70s for a voltage spike. If I can do it fast enough, I've seen it into the 80s and low 90s. But this is a 13 volt power supply, and it puts out a pretty steady constant 13 volts. So if I just press and hold, or if I take my trigger off, here I'll reset the zeros, min max values. Then if I go down here and I turn my trigger off, okay, and then I press the button, we start out at negative 13 volts. When I press the button, it goes to 0 volts drop across the coil, which is good. Because it doesn't have the trigger, it doesn't know when to record. The little blip of our induction happens so fast we're not even getting a graph of it. But you can see my min and max values. It was clearly caught with the min and max circuits with the lab scope. We've got up to a 77 volt spike when it's shutting off, and a negative 27 volt spike when it turned on. Usually if you can cycle it on and off really fast, that's when you're going to get your largest spike. Anyways, I hope that was interesting. And that's why certain circuits in automotive require relays that, instead of having a resistor, have a diode, and that's to suppress those large voltage spikes so those aren't going back into the computer. I think sometimes this gets referred to as the flyback voltage. And you got to watch what type of diodes or relays. If you're swapping them around or replacing a relay, it's important to make sure that if it has a diode, that you replace it with another relay with a diode in parallel with the coil instead of just a resistor. That's all for now.